midnight screenings.
Well, if you had your heavy metal music playing, like Warrior Queen of Jhansi does sound like a kickin' metal band. No, it'll get hit by the content. No, that's fine. Well, great. You might notice well, probably not. It was only a few seconds, but like it would be funny if just suddenly I had to just snip out that 3 seconds on there. Like, what happened? Did he say something really racist for 3 seconds?
I heard, wasn't there like, don't you have like 10 seconds leeway?
It depends.
Okay.
It always depends on the company. It depends on how old the video is sometimes. Like it's a weird thing. One time, like, I got hit for a song that wasn't even in the thing.
What? like what? Seriously?
Yeah, it was for the Gotti review.
Wow.
It happens. I mean, when that's the case, it'll end up going through when you appeal it. But
right.
So before we get into the review, Laura, you should have called me a few minutes ago. Before we get into the review, I got to text my wife.
Text your wife.
So normally we do that Black Friday sale every year. She was just wondering where we were eating afterwards. I'm just reviewing the movie to my wife in text. Normally we do the Black Friday sale after Thanksgiving, normally when a lot of companies do. Since we had such a good year and everything with the new movie that came out a few months ago and different sales that we've had going on the past few months, and even other DVDs of ours that have like had a nice boost because the movie did so well, we decided to extend our normal like Black Friday sale just through the whole month of November as basically a nice like thank you for making the movie such a success it was. And which means if you go to walkawayentertainment.com, all of our DVDs are just $5 each, and that's all. That's another Cinema Snob movie, the Cinema Snob movie, the uncut Cinema Snob DVDs, some older ones that we got on there. Everything on our store is just $5 each from now till the end of the month. So check that out over at walkawayentertainment.com. And the link will be down in there somewhere. Here we have another movie that I had never heard of until it popped up on the list the other day. And I gave you, when I first saw the title, I just simply thought like, oh, is it another Bollywood movie or something? And when I clicked on it and it said it was only an hour and 45 minutes long, I was like, oh wait, well maybe not. Bollywood movies tend to be a little longer.
Oh,
and it was like starring Rupert Everett and Derek Jacobi. So I'm like, oh okay, so maybe not. What is this? I look it up, 0%. Like. Okay, dude, you want to go see this movie? I don't know what this is or what kind of thing we're getting in the middle of here, but let's check this out before we go to Ford v Ferrari. This is it is an Indian production, but made for a Western audience is what it looks like. So in that regard, it's a step above a similar kind of thing Ryan and I saw earlier this year, which was this awful movie called The Least of These, that had Stephen Baldwin in it doing an Australian accent. This was the kind of movie where even going in, I kind of knew how it was gonna start. I knew there was just something about the way that this movie looked and the kind of movie it was, and the kind of movie I kind of thought it would be going into it. I knew it was gonna. It's just something about it. I knew it was gonna open up a shot with slow motion dust going through the air, a soundtrack that's like whoa, and like text, like maybe like a saying, like a quote or something, narration like it was in the time of 1642 with a map on screen. Sure enough, all of that came true. That's the opening moments of the movie. And then it kind of prepares you a little bit for the dialogue that's in the film, in which they give you a little bit of backstory at the beginning, followed by, but that was just the beginning.
Right.
Smash cut to really cheap title card.
Right.
I mean, you kind of got to expect an opening like that in a movie where the script polishes off the old. we are. What was it? It was like, we're not so different, you and I.
Oh yeah. Two girls are like holding up the mirror. We're not so different, you and I.
This movie is. I've now seen 2 movies in a row between this and Charlie's Angels that are punishingly lame. I felt I wanted to sleep so hard in this movie. I love being up here that I could just stumble into random things like this that I never would have heard of otherwise. And this is the 3rd time that that's happened that had walkouts in it. Everyone walked out, except for me, walked out of El Coyote. This couple walked out of Great Alaskan Race. It was an older couple that walked out of this movie an hour into it, leaving one guy in there sitting next to us so we still couldn't talk.
Right. That sucked. And okay, so playing devil's advocate, I will. I want to just repeat what I said off camera. I felt that this movie had some ambition. Basically, the idea was that she was like India's George Washington, as it were,
fighting for Indian independence against the British.
So, I mean, that's cool in a sense. It's kind of relatable. But the execution was just not there, man.
I agree with you slightly on the ambitious angle because it sort of is, but not theatrically. This is like ambitious if it were a PBS movie.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because if I was watching this at like 1 in the morning on PBS, it's on after Downton Abbey, I would be like, well, they put a little bit of money in this. Like, there's a lot of extras in the background. On a big screen, whoa.
Can we talk about the irony of putting it, of having it, of theoretically having it following Downton Abbey?
Okay, because my favorite part of this movie was like, all right, so you're following the Rani of Jhansi, fighting against the British, and the British in this movie are like cartoonishly British.
Right, bro.
Like,
I do tell.
Oh my god, I was loving that because it felt like it was a comedy. It felt like you're watching like the Monty Python troupe back in Parliament, and they're going, fighting amongst each other, preposterous, and like, I say, we just shoot her in the head. Oh, by God, man! And Rupert Everett, who's like kind of the main like British lieutenant, with these fake sideburns and this makeup on him, he looks in his
the mutton chops,
the big mutton chops, and he's looking and acting like Jim Carrey playing Ebenezer Scrooge. When he was, man, he's like. Tell them all canceling the Christmas bonus this year. God, I did not tell you to murder children and babies. I was loving it. If you give me a super cut of just that, dude, when it cut to like Westminster Palace at the end, I was expecting like it to do the do 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 do. And you have Derek Jacobi popping up in this movie, just going, talk to your Hindi friend. And Queen Victoria's like, actually, he's Muslim. He's like, oh, that's terribly sorry.
I'm terribly sorry. You are killing me with these English accents, man.
I was loving all of those.
Your next movie, you have to play an English.
I gotta be a British. Oh yeah, and make it a hard drama like this film. Are you kidding me with this shit? Like, it was coming across like it was a comedy sketch about this particular battle. Oh. But that's a small part of this movie because mostly it's all like leading up to this battle, and it gets like kind of gory in some scenes.
Well, if you consider CGI blood gore.
Exactly. It had like cheap like blood splatters you download off YouTube with the green screen. I know those blood effects. I use those in my videos sometimes. And that's about as convincing as it was in this movie. And she's training all of these women to be warriors in one scene, and the dude is standing there like, we must train them to fight like men. And she goes, no, we will train them to fight better than men. But in the background, like, I don't think they directed the extras very well in the background, because they were just standing there
just
going,
like...
I'm like, well, they're gonna die.
Oh, there was a lot of extra faux pas, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, because like the British troops that were supposed to be marching toward the end, I don't know if you noticed, but they were just like walking.
You know what? I was trying to make sense of that in my head, because I was like, well, they've been walking for days. Like, so I was sort of like, okay. I'm like, maybe that's kind of realistic.
Like in that scene where they march in front of the three guys. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That like they started stepping in unison, and then towards the end of that scene they were just like walking.
Yeah. Cut.
The guys in the back were like, yeah, we don't care. Yeah, whatever.
We didn't think we were going to be on camera. And it was distracting me that her dad looked like Indian Ron Swanson through the whole movie.
Yes.
Got a battle plan to attack this plate of delicious barbecue ribs. That's all I was hearing in my head as I was watching him.
He's not lying either.
He did, right?
He looks, as soon as you said that, I was like, holy shit. It's Indian Ron Swanson.
Yeah. And when I was watching it play out, like, it was reminding me a little of that Samson movie Dave and I went to go see like a year or so ago that was a Pureflix movie. But that was maybe slightly more entertaining than this, kind of. I don't know. They're both pretty lame. In this, the lead, I'm not sure her name, but she... it's not that I thought she was bad necessarily, because there were some scenes where I thought she worked, like when she's crying over her horse in the one scene.
She does a great job of like crying on cue and everything.
So I was thinking through a lot of it that I felt like she was kind of miscast, because I don't know, like maybe an actor with a little bit more screen presence, maybe, because I'm really not feeling warrior or queen in this performance. But then, so I was like, it's not that she's bad, but I was like, she feels a little miscast. And then I looked it up on my phone in there. I'm like, oh, okay. She co-wrote the movie and her mom directed it.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, well, I mean, as far as circumstances, like, yeah.
Devika... Bees?
See, that's why I didn't bother memorizing. I knew I'd mess it up somehow.
My apologies if I have butchered it. I just...
I didn't really recognize her from anything else necessarily. I mean, I saw she'd been in some other things, nothing that I'm sure came to Springfield. But I mean, there were scenes where I thought she worked, but other parts I was like, not really. She wasn't carrying me through a lot of this.
The IMDb page, top billed cast is all the white people.
Well, yeah, they're the biggest names in the movie. Rupert Everett is in it. Like, that's probably what they spent a lot of their budget on.
Right.
Rupert Everett, and the lady playing, Queen Victoria.
Jodie May.
Yeah, this is like something you would just put on a classroom if the teacher was hungover and was like, well, I was supposed to teach about this today. I don't know.
Basically.
Or they meant to be they thought it was about George Washington, but the teacher was still a little drunk and just rented this and threw this on. It was. Oh, man, I was struggling to stay awake during this movie. I'm like, the intention of the movie is noble. Yeah. Like, it is. It's not that it has a bad message or anything like that. Like,
it's just, okay, let's talk about the pacing. How there was no, like, segues from scene to scene. There was just like somebody died, all of a sudden, boom, British generals talking, then boom. It was just It was just very abrupt with no like transitions or anything.
Dude, yeah, the first half hour of this movie was reminding me of how like Gotti was paced. Like
Yeah.
I know you didn't see that movie, but it would be like we got 15 minutes into this movie and I was sitting there going, who's our main character?
Right.
Where is our main
Right,
character?
yeah.
The adventure, like, and then it was go like 4 years earlier, 4 years later, 5 years earlier, 5 years later. It was doing it. After like 20 minutes or a half hour, it stopped doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, it would still do a couple flashbacks because it would go in flashback vision where it'd be like kind of like blurry and shit.
Yeah.
Like, so I I need to keep a running tally of all these movies that I go see in which people are walking out of.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Who's so far? Who is the which movie has the most walkouts?
Oh, El Coyote.
Really?
I was the only one there who didn't walk out.
Right, but how many started? Would you say? How many people did you see walk out?
Oh, 3. It wasn't a packed theater.
Okay.
But they were all there separately.
Oh, really?
Like, so it was like at different points in the movie.
One
that they
group
walked
left,
out. Yeah,
and then another group left.
There was a couple that walked out of Great Alaskan Race.
Okay.
And in this, and like, in this, it was over an hour in. It's an hour and 40-minute movie. And I would say it was a little over an hour in that someone walked out. Yeah. And usually when I see that, I'm like, you already made it over an hour. Just stay.
Yeah, you might as well.
Yeah.
But, no. Like I said, then I went to the bathroom and I ran into them. They were an Indian couple.
Oh,
so even the Indian audience was like, audience to this movie was like, nope.
Yeah. They wanted to go see Luke Case instead.
Luke.
We got that trailer in front of it. I hope that comes here. That looked kind of fun.
That did look fun.
Yeah. Is there anything else to really say about this? This was just lame. Like it.
Let's see. We touched on the terrible blood effects, the pacing. Oh, the kids acting. Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah, the kid was pretty bad.
Just like suddenly, I'm scared, and it's like, you were just smiling.
Yeah, suddenly it would cut to like Bollywood Phantom Menace for like 5 minutes with the mom and the kid. Like, yeah, he was pretty. He wasn't in the movie that much, really, but it for me, like, that was kind of on par with about everything else in the movie. It wasn't really taking me out of it that much because nothing else in this movie was really working.
You know what else I noticed?
Yeah.
We never saw like Derek Jacobi or Rupert or
Rupert Everett.
Yeah, Rupert Everett in the same scenes as,
because Derek Jacobi looked like he was filmed in just a day. Like he's just in the office in the Queen Elizabeth scene.
Right. Oh, that. Okay, wrong dude then. Wrong dude then.
Who are you talking about?
The two generals.
Oh, are you talking about Sir Robert?
Yeah.
The guy with the beard and slick back hair?
Yeah.
What about him? He was never in the same shot with Rupert Everett?
Well, no. So like the generals, Major Robert and the guy with the mutton chops,
Sir Hugh. Yeah.
Sir Hugh, right, were never in the same scene as
our lead. Yeah, when it was, so there would be some of those British soldiers who would be in scenes with her, which I'm glad, because up until then, I noticed that too, because like up until then, I was like, is this a situation where they kind of shot some scenes with these actors to just randomly splice in this movie?
I feel like that's what happened.
Like they did with Keanu Reeves in 47 Ronin, but there were actors from those sequences that did cross over into the other one, so I'm like, maybe not, but it was probably just because that was like this is like that least of these. This again, it's like that least of these movies I saw.
Like maybe their schedules didn't.
Well, I don't know story wise how they would have ended up in some shots. Well, the battle scene.
Yeah, the battle scenes should have been like in the same one. It would have been cool to see her fight one of them.
It's one of those movies, again, like the least of these, where it's an Indian produced movie, but it definitely looks like it's marketed towards a Western audience.
Right.
So you have these scenes with Rupert Everett, some of the other actors, like with the least of these, where it was really marketing Stephen Baldwin in the movie.
Stephen Baldwin was in this?
No. The least of these. This movie that I saw earlier this year.
Okay.
So, it looked like a situation where it was kind of like, okay, so they can put these names on the poster, and it can market itself in the States or in the UK or somewhere like that. But you're not going to get anything out of this movie if you go see it. Do not go see this movie in the theater. No. It's too boring to watch at home. Like, yeah, dude. Like, I wish I could say, like, that it was the kind of bad that would cross over into, like, dude, you got to check this out when it hits Netflix or something. But it's not.
Yeah.
It would be a waste of your time.
And it's a shame too, because like I said, the concept is very ambitious. It feels like the kind of story that deserves a really good movie. Yeah. But this wasn't it.
I felt that way about Great Alaskan Race. Great Alaskan Race was really bad. When you got to the end and you kind of saw what they were doing with it, it was like, okay, well, I mean, there was at least heart put into the story they were trying to tell. Like, and so I was like, the story makes you want to find out more about it, like with the Great Alaskan Race and things like that. And with the race movie, I was thinking, I probably won't put this on my bottom 10 just because, not for reasons of filmmaking and story, because it was terrible. But I was like, well, God, at least it had heart to it. Like,
well, and just like you said, this now makes me want to like look up the East India Trading Company and you know, just to get some more information about it, about that conflict. That was actually around the same time as the Chicago fire, by the way.
We had the same review of Jexy. It makes me want to look up the East Indian Trading Company.
What?
I don't know. I'm just being stupid. I'm just saying. It would have been random if you said that in the review. My first go-to of that joke was to say Endgame, but it feels like it's been a while since I saw that movie, so maybe that movie did have East Indian trading in it. Just had to go with Jexy. We saw it recently.
Endgame.
It was a 3-hour movie. Maybe there was something like that in
it. Do your British voice again.
My British voice again? Every time I try fixing my cable, I get one of these Indian warriors on the phone. Sorry, phones haven't been invented yet. I mean via telegram. Just give me a person. This automated telegram system. And cancel Christmas. Well, that was Warrior Queen of Jhansi, everybody. We'll be back with Ford v Ferrari. See ya.
See ya.